we are again at Behind the Lab. I'm Tom Morrissey, Theater Now New York's Artistic Director.
And I'm Colleen Harris, the Associate Managing Director. This is our series where we spotlight the writers in our Musical Writers Lab. And today we're thrilled to introduce you to Henco Espag and Kathy Ng.
What's great about Kathy and Henco is they wrote this amazing piece that's called Maggot Boy. And we were all planned to produce it as a developmental workshop here in Midtown Manhattan this spring 2020, and then the pandemic hit and it had to be canceled. We are still expecting to produce it again. We hope that we will be able to next year. So please check back in with us because it's a great show and it's really fun and we want everyone to be able to see it.
Yes. And for more about Henco and Kathy, you can also check out the video description below to see how to keep up with them. And you can read more about Theater Now's Writers Lab.
And now here's Kathy and Henco.
I'm Kathy. I am originally from Hong Kong, and now I live in Brooklyn, New York.
And I'm Henco Espag, and I'm originally from South Africa, and I now live in the Bronx, New York.
How did your partnership form?
Well, we met at the Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program at the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU, and we were partnered together fairly early on. And I remember specifically our first song together was not very well received by the faculty. So one of the comments actually was that Michael John Lacusa was one of the faculty members at that point, and he made a comment saying he wanted more sex, he wanted more tension. So we went back and pulled out all the stops and created the most psychedelic sexual fever dream song you could ever muster up, and it was such a hit. So we kind of knew that it was meant to be.
Yeah, that's kind of been our aesthetic ever since.
Love it.
Yeah. But like throughout the whole program, I was always attracted to like how evocative and like cosmic like Henco's like music was, and so when it was time to decide our thesis partners, I reached out to him, and and it's been a fun exploratory journey so far.
I know there's never a dull moment with Kathy, and I love it.
Tell us a little about your new musical, Maggot Boy.
So Maggot Boy was Henco and I's thesis musical for NYU, and it's kind of like a fever dream, cosmic, surrealistic landscape piece, and it was all inspired by this one YouTube video we found, with a National Geographic video of describing a wasp, parasitic wasp, injecting her eggs into a caterpillar, and then the eggs gestate inside the caterpillar, become maggots, and then when they're ready to be born, they explode out of the caterpillar. And that's like that wasp's like reproductive process. And Henco and I just found the image to be so theatrical and evocative, and then we kind of used that, the emotion of that image, as a guiding post to create a human story from it, and Maggot Boy is kind of like a collage of like the bug world and the psychology of the human world, it was so exciting when we got a chance, when we knew that we could get a chance to produce Maggot Boy with Theater Now, and in preparation for the spring production that got postponed, we actually wrote like a whole new second draft, which like is so valuable in itself, and we were glad we were able to do that.
And just from a music perspective, sort of the music of the show sits sort of in a experimental operatic world with a bunch of mixtures of musical theater and even some pop thrown in there. And the presentation we did before at school was very much 2D, with just the piano, a violinist, and then the singers singing with stands. So this opportunity for us was really to be able to open it up and see it as a full scope. And especially from the music perspective, it was very exciting, and still is, that we can experiment with music's role in the show. The musicians are going to be on the stage. They will be visible at all times. So they become part of the action in a way and sort of becoming a character in their own right. So looking at how we can envision that as a reality has been very exciting. And then also looking at bringing in some more soundscape ideas and specific sounds that we can directly associate with the characters, and also potentially using the actors to help produce these sounds. So that's been something very exciting that this opportunity has presented for us.
Intrigued yet? Maggot Boy is an exciting new work about consumption. It's a genre-bending fever dream that follows the disintegration of a human family as they walk the dangerous line between prey and predator, human and bug, parasite and host. It features an avant-garde, impressionistic, contemporary operatic score in which the natural rawness of the human voice is integrated into the orchestration. So what does that sound like in practice? We have 2 songs for you to hear today. The first one is called the Scientist Song. Having just met Bruce, who is a troubled boy who insists he's a blueberry for the first time, our psychiatrist sits in her office in deeply disturbed contemplation. She complains of the boredom that is the 21st century human psyche, and she marvels at the possibility of finally treating a patient that will excite a scientist like her. Performed here by Heather Buck with Isaac Hayward on the piano, this is the Scientist Song from Maggot Boy.
To come across an anomaly, a break in a uniformity, a chasm in a ubiquity, simply cataclysmic for a scientist like me, so positively seismic it might just split the sea. The 21st century human is sicker than ever before. Anxiety, insanity, manic depressive maturity. Anxiety, insanity, mass involuntary apathy. Anxiety, insanity, self-destructive monotony. The 21st century human is sicker than ever before. For a scientist like me, it has never been more a bore. But that boy was some caveman oddity, bedeviled by asymmetric biology, bejeweled with galactic monstrosity. The 21st century reality is a cesspool for the mind. But the boy has diseases of his very own kind. What an exceptional specimen. Just thinking of him fills me with adrenaline. I'll see you. I shall see you. I will see you again.
What inspired you to get involved with musical theater in the first place?
Well, for me, music has always been a part of my life since childhood, but I never really was exposed to a lot of theater back in South Africa. So I came to the United States and I studied film scoring. But after graduation, I did not want to move to Los Angeles to pursue this. So I ended up finding a job as an accompanist and a vocal coach for a college out in New Jersey. They were just looking to expand their musical theater program. And I thought, why not? Let's try this. So I coached and I music directed and played for the department. And I just absolutely fell in love with it all. And then the classical composition part that I already had built up to that point just naturally transformed over into musical theater. Because for me, writing for visual media was it was lonely sitting in a studio all by yourself. So being able to work within theater was an opportunity to write for a presentation and also work with live actors throughout the process. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and for me, I started off in undergrad doing theater, but I always loved musical theater. But because I wasn't like a musician or a composer, I was always like, that's something like for me to like enjoy from afar. But I met I met a mentor over the summer once where she teaches at this program at Tisch, and I kind of just wanted to keep learning from her, so I like followed her there. And it's such a cool program because like they pair you up, so you get to pair up with like people you don't have to be able to do both to write it, and you kind of just learn about how it can be like a very collaborative art form. So that's how I got involved with it.
How did you get involved with Theater Now New York?
So I got involved with Theater Now near the end of my first year at NYU when another collaborator at the time submitted our 10-minute musical to Theater Now Sound Bites, which was a very cool experience, and it was my first exposure to Theater Now, and it just seemed like such a cool, vibrant community, like dedicated to fostering new work musical theater, which isn't like the most common thing in New York City, I think. And so when I saw an email over the summer with Tom saying that they're starting up this new lab and was encouraging people to apply, I knew I wanted to be a part of it and kind of dragged Henco along to apply with their thesis musical.
And I happily swung along.
Yep.
And we're so glad he did, because now we here at Theater Now can help Kathy and Henco develop their musical Maggot Boy into a full production. We have another song from Maggot Boy for you to hear today. It's called the Breath Song. In it, using the last breaths of his whole ridden caterpillar body, Maggot Boy unfurls himself into the cosmos, finally releasing himself of the burdens and shames that have plagued and weighed down his human existence. Sung here by Kennedy Kanagawa with Chip Prince on piano, this is the Breath Song from Maggot Boy.
These maggots, are they me? Am I them? Aren't we all? These holes, are they me? Am I them? Am I at last more whole than meat? This emptying emptiness, is it real? Am I dying? I have never felt this light of lightness. Maggots of my womb, goodbye, don't cry. I've nothing left to give, so live and multiply. Take what you must take, devour, love, survive. Go on for me, please thrive for me, find paradise. And as for me, come sweet death, let's walk to the beach where I'll take one deep, lasting breath.
Take as many as you'd like.
Now take your last, my darling, teeth and bones, and burst through the white sky like clouds of light. My blood and shit drift through the Milky Way, swim into sea and shadow and star sand. Dear rib cage, open, open, unleash this broken heart of mine. Inside this latitude of emptiness, free my soul from the need to love. coming is mine, and mine alone.
What is the Musical Writers Lab, and what do you enjoy most about it?
Well, something that's really special about the musical writers lab for us specifically is like we're both like fresh out of grad school, and like we don't really have like a big community of musical theater writers outside of school. So it's something that's been really cool and special is that it's kind of like our first dip into like getting to know other writing teams outside of the program. And it's just been really nice seeing how like other people, what stories other teams are approaching and how they're doing it, and like the scheduled meetings has been a really helpful way to keep like us accountable as a writing team, to like try to keep churning out new work when there's no like deadlines or school to like keep us like working. So like that's and having this new community has also been such a nice part of being in the lab.
And it's also just, I mean, talking about the real life experiences and sort of look at the more administration aspect of theater too, and talking about copyright and so forth has been very helpful. And of course, for us, the opportunity then to get the production mounted as well has been really exciting.
Yeah, especially because Tom likes to spend like the first part of every meeting like kind of going through everybody's issues and stuff, and in that way kind of learning a lot about the real life application of theater and that we didn't really learn in school. So.
Are you working on anything new? How are you staying creative?
I mean, I feel like it's hard for any artist to try to like keep up the creative juices going, but Henco and I have been starting a new piece in its infancy stages, kind of inspired by the rain goddess in South Africa, called Mujaji, and we are very interested in like exploring a musical theater piece that is like very heavily involved in dance, and also Henco wants to incorporate sign language into it as well, which is something I'm not familiar with, but it's also it's a very exciting endeavor for us to try that, I think. But it's still very much in its infancy stages. But it's been fun to at least like get those like fragments of ideas going. And I don't know if Henco was talking about, like, we've also worked on some songs for Judson Church as well.
Yeah, so luckily, I mean, on my end, I've been very lucky to still have all my jobs intact, and they're still going on full force. And what Kathy just mentioned, I music direct at Judson Memorial Church, which is a social justice and social rights organization rooted within the church down in the village. And we do all our services online now. And it sort of forced me to think about how to present music and arts in different formats in that setup. So I've been kind of forcing Kathy to write with me and experiment with this. We wrote a solo piece in the very beginning. We wrote a choral piece for Easter, and we're actually now working on another piece for Pride that's also going to be done with the choir, with one of those virtual performances where they all send in their videos. On the other hand, I'm also running a quarantine art book contest where we bring submissions in. We call for submissions and include it in the services, which I think has been very successful. I'm teaching online at a university, and what I'm very excited about is working with the global organization, the Lesbian and Gay Band Association, that's LGBTQIA symphonic and marching bands from across the world, and we're hopefully being able to put together one of those virtual performances as well for a piece that I just finished 2 days ago. So it's been exciting.
What's the first thing you'll do when quarantine is over?
Well, my plan is to make Henco take me to and treat me to all you can eat sushi. So that's first thing on my list.
I guess I'll have to oblige. For me, it's really been as simple as getting my nails done because they are so neglected. So that has been the first thing that comes to mind.
Big thanks to Kathy and Henco for sharing their time with us and letting us ask so many questions. And also big thanks to Adriana Panuzzo for putting this video together.
And please stay in touch with Everything Theater Now so we can keep you updated on all our upcoming events and productions. Our handle is @TheaterNowNY, and our website is www.tnmy.org.
And make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the interviews with our future lab members. Thanks so much. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
These maggots, are they me? Am I them? Aren't we all? These holes, are they me? Am I them? Am I at last more whole?